What's up, Simonics, and welcome back to a new Build with Ionic tutorial. Once again, one of these super long videos that nobody's gonna watch, but I hope you still enjoy the series, and I think you actually enjoyed the previous ones. Today, we will focus on a Gmail clone. We will not implement everything, we will not implement the backend as we did in the previous episodes. We will focus on building the UI, which means combining tabs and menu, building a very cool list interface, making an Ionic popover exactly for our needs with a custom class, and also adding a directive for this little search bar animation up there, which basically took me like 3 hours to develop. I hope you enjoy this. Link for the tutorial below the video so you can grab all the code, because at some points we might have to skip a bit and import a bit since it's just plain boring code for an HTML. And otherwise, I really hope you enjoy the series. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more, and now enjoy our Gmail clone, which might in the future have a second part, but we will see. For today, let's start with the basics. Alright, so let's get started with our Gmail clone. We're gonna start not with a blank Ionic application, but with the side menu template. Simply because inside the Gmail application you will notice there's a menu and there's a tab bar, and I wanted to have at least one of them up front. I got a tutorial on combining side menu and tabs if you want to build it from ground up, but for today let's just use this template. We're gonna create our tabs at least ourselves, so we generate a new page for that. 2 pages for mail and meet, which are actually the 2 tabs. Then we got an account popover and a details page, which we won't focus on today, perhaps in the future. And finally, another module for directives, so we can add a little directive. Now, in the beginning, we can change this. Your app routing module will look different from the side menu template, and also because all the pages were added to your routing, but that's actually what we only need. So we only need directly a redirect to our tabs page and then the link to our tabs routing page. This will give us a result that looks like this, I think. And you might ask yourself, well, how is this actually now working? Where's the side menu gone? You can easily spot the side menu. It's inside the app component. That's usually the reason why I don't like this side menu template. It puts everything into your app component. Also within the app component TS, you will find a bunch of this. We don't really care about this. We will leave the side menu as it is. The only thing that's really interesting about the side menu is the setup. So you must imagine our application starts with the app component and it loads this markup. That means we're loading an Ion split pane, there's an Ion menu, and especially an Ion router outlet. And basically everything that we define here for the Angular router will be rendered within that Ion router outlet. That means in the beginning, the only thing that we're loading is the tabs page. That means the tabs page will be loaded into this container. That means all around is the side menu, and what we initially display is actually the tab bar. So that's why and how it works in the beginning. We can also continue with the app module since, I already changed this. We need the HTTP client module to load some dummy JSON data. You can either use them from where I hosted this, or you can put it into your assets folder if you want to do me a favor and not use all my traffic on DigitalOcean. Thanks a lot. Finally, we can put a little bit of, oh no, this must be gone. You haven't seen this. We will do this later. We need to quickly open our styling because I picked a different primary color. I used once again the Ionic color generator. Just look up Ionic color generator. You will directly get to that page. Actually, I still have it open. I used the primary wet, which I found inside the application, and that gave me the code right here. So we can close this. Fine. Okay, we got the app module, we got the routing, we got that, we got everything, we got the styling. So we can continue by creating our tab bar inside the side menu. Actually, we can even already see the side menu if we pull it in from the side. this always works, even though we don't see it. And that also means your setup is working correctly. We will leave it as it is, since the default side menu here kind of already looks a bit like the Gmail clone, and it's just, well, within Gmail you will just find a few other entries here and there, so not really something we need to look at. Now, let's get to our tab bar. Where's my tab bar? There's the tab routing. If you happen to still got these entries in here, maybe don't remove them or go a few times back, because then you can easily copy them all over to your tabs page, where we now say we will have an array of children, and in here we now gonna link our mail page and the meet page and also the details page, just in case you want to implement this. So in that case, you usually have something like pages dot whatever, and then you just need to change the path a tiny bit, and you can easily make it work in here. Now, if we handy please. If we initially arrive on the tabs page, we're gonna have no information about which tab to select, mail, meet, who cares. And therefore we're gonna add a redirect in the beginning for the empty path. So if the router doesn't find any match in here, we're gonna say please redirect to the mail tab, and we only want to really do this if the path match is full, which means it's really just the blank path. Now once we do this, I think we will actually route to tab/mail, which doesn't change anything so far since we haven't added the tabs UI. But we can do this real quickly, because let's just do it. It's an Ion tab bar. There's not much about it. Ion tabs, Ion tab bar. We've done this quite a few times. You define your tabs, and the most important part is this tab on the tab button. That needs to reflect the URL or the path that you defined in your routing. So you can see I got the tab mail and the tab meet, and that's exactly what we defined in here. So now, hopefully, we should have a tab bar with two tabs, and we should be able to navigate mail and meet. And these are really already the pages that we generated, and once again, we still got our side menu on the side. We will also add a button to trigger it, so we don't need this anymore. And we see we also got our primary color in place. Now, with that in place, we can already head over to our mail page. Maybe we're gonna close a few, so we got a bit more space. Okay, let's start by loading my dummy JSON data, HTTP client. And on init, we wanna get my data. Once again, this is the link. Data looks like this. It's basically just an array of dummy data for some emails. Again, you can just download it and put it into your assets folder. I think I did this. Let's give it a try. Assets, data, JSON, something like this. Will this work? We're gonna see. Yeah, there are 20 emails, and that's what we're gonna use. Now, first cool thing that we're gonna do is create a custom color from a string. Because if you check out the Gmail application, you will see that there are circles with different colors. And I guess they're calculating that color based on some value. Sometimes there's also an image if the user is known, or perhaps it's using Gravatar in the background. We could also use this. There's an Angular package, but we're gonna do this real easy today. Let's start by getting our emails. So this.emails equal our response, and then we're gonna go through all of the emails. We could do this emails res.map. I don't know, I always really like to use map. I actually don't know why. Might be even a line more. Perhaps for loop might make more sense. Anyway, I want to do it like this. For every email, we want to get a color. And I found a cool snippet, or actually these are two functions to, first of all, create a hash code from a function. And second, to create into RGB from a string, well, it just works. It's magic. I found this on Stack Overflow. I really don't claim to have created this code. Also, I wouldn't use var. That's a good sign to see this is not my code if there's a var in here. Okay, we're gonna use this dot into RGB, and before we do this, we call our hash function using the email dot, I think it's called from, right? Okay, this should hopefully give us a color, so we don't want to override the whole email object. And now we can return email inside our map block. Well, that looks kind of cool. A for loop would have worked the same. Anyway, maybe we should print out our new array afterwards, because then you will see, or hopefully see, that we've created something cool. Let's check it out. Everyone has a custom color property now as well inside that array. And we can later use this to our advantage. Let's go to our mail page and start a bit with our UI. I'm gonna make this actually a bit smaller so you can directly see all the changes in action. First thing, there's actually no header, so we can get rid of the header. If we get rid of the header, we usually need to change the Ion content padding. So whatever you got in here will look not correctly on a device. It's okay here inside the browser preview, but if I now also simultaneously open my my reflector application, you can see that it's actually up there. That's really not the place where you want to have your content. Therefore, we will directly set the Ion content padding top to at least, let's say, 40 pixels. In that case, everything that we got will start at a reasonable height. Inside the Ion content, we're gonna start with a little custom div, because there's this search overlay, and you could create an item or something, but let's just use this one. Let's call this one search overlay. Okay, and yeah, well, let's just leave it like it is. Within the search overlay, it's not too fancy. So what I did is I created an Ion row inside. For a specific reason that I will show you in a second. We got the menu button in here now to toggle our menu. We don't need anything else since we only have one menu. We got the Ion input to search something, and then we got at the end a little avatar, which we'll call the open account function that we haven't created yet. We will take care of that later. And within here, I just used my own image. Okay, we need to tell this, and then everyone will be happy. Okay, I will show you the difference. So right now, I'll need to click here. Right now, I can click this menu icon, and I could click my open account function, and everything looks fine. Now I'll show you the difference if I comment this out, and I would use an Ion item instead. Because from the outside, it'll look pretty good. You could just use the slot start in here. Then you can put your Ion input, and then you can use the Ion avatar in the slot end. So that would be the alternative. Oh, come on. Okay. Will look basically the same. We even got the shadows. Now, watch as I click the menu button. What happens is the keyboard actually opens and I'm inside the input field. And the same behavior now happens if I click on my avatar up here. It doesn't even trigger an open account, the modal, since we haven't implemented it yet, but it actually would still also open the keyboard. So for whatever reason, the Ion input in here automatically gets the focus no matter where we click, and that looked really, really horrible. And since I didn't get anything from using an Ion item, well, I just used the custom div instead, and everyone was happy. The only thing that we now need to do is add a bit more styling, but we can easily handle that. Okay. Are the items aligned? I don't know. Ion align items center. I just usually throw this whenever I think we should maybe put this a bit more aligned. Ion align. Yeah, this is aligned. This maybe not so much. I will put my designer's eye on this in the end once again. But for now, we want to keep this. Let's focus on the list. Ion list. And within the list, let's start with an Ion list header. We're just gonna put in inbox, and then we're gonna iterate Ion item ng4 over all the emails that we got. Let m of emails. We're gonna give it a class so we can bundle all of our styling in or under the email class, and we also don't want to have any lines in here, so we're gonna set lines to none. Now, once again, let me quickly put in anything here, m.from, so we can see our iteration, and we can now also see this on the web browser. The problem I encountered here was that if I want to click on the email, I would usually add the router link to the Ion item. Now, there was also a little function, or I wanted to add a function to show the star at the end, and it should be clickable. So you would have something like Ion icon name star slot and well, we don't need anything else just to showcase this. So we'd have this star at the end, and I wanted to make this clickable. The problem is, if the whole Ion item already has the router link, you can't click that. It just doesn't work. Then I tried to wrap different parts somehow and use a router link. That didn't work as well. I got a ugly border around an Ion label. So in the end, what I did once again is I used an Ion row. I really like it because you can just create the layout exactly as you want to. You don't need to rely on the slots of Ion item or things that don't really work. This will also, no, let's do this in the end. Let's for now just do it like this. So let's do a column of 2 for the user image. Then we're gonna use 8 for the actual email content and 2 for the star at the end. For the first one, we're gonna create a custom class called email circle. And we can now use a dynamic background color, because at this point we got access to the color that we've calculated from code. And I also want to put into that box the from. Let's just start with a bit basic stuff. Okay, looks cool, only that we just want the first letter. If you only want a specific part, you can always use the slice pipe, starting index, end index. No, of course, wrong. Starting index, end index. And as a result, we only got that letter. Where's my background color gone? Hello? Where's my background color? Come on. Maybe we should give that a little bit of styling. So for the email circle, I always just give it a try in here. I want to set a specific width and I want to set a specific height. I want to make this rounded, so let's use the border radius. Let's just use 50%. And to center the text, we can just make this use display flex and then align items center and justify content as well center. Okay, then we need a different color. Some kind of white is used in the official application, although it's not completely white. It's just maybe something like this. Then maybe the font weight could be a bit bigger, and actually we want to make this uppercase, so let's use text transform capitalize, and that looks pretty. Oh no, oh no, oh no, no, oh no. I want to keep this. Go away. Oh, please, my styling. Thank you very much. So we can create our email circle with all of this. And once we've done this for one item, it should look great for every item. That's a great success, right? Okay. With that in place, we can also focus on the next column. We're gonna just use an Ion label in here with the color dark. On top of that, we wanna add a few classes, but let's wait until we get there. We wanna display the from, and I actually don't wanna show the full email in there because for the dummy emails, it was kinda long. So instead of using the whole message, I will just call split at the end and use the first part. Every email should have an at and the first part, right? You can't go wrong with that, can you? And also because the emails are in lowercase, I will also use Ion text capitalize. So basically the same text transformation that we did from CSS for the circles now in here. I feel like something is terribly wrong. And also I want to add my favorite class, Ion align items center. I actually don't know why the text right now is in there. We got our column with 2, we got 8, and we got 2. I kind of feel good about this, but let's see. At some point we will figure this out. On top of that, we also want to show a little excerpt from the email. So class excerpt, we're gonna definitely add some custom styling. And for this one, I'm going to copy this line because you don't want to display the full content. If you do it, if you would actually display when you got long text, the full content, it is usually, first of all, not inside the view. That's interesting. Okay, where is my content? Email circle. Hello content. Where's my content? Content gone missing. Thanks for that. I really don't know where it went. Most likely we're gonna need for the email a bit of styling, but usually I really don't see a reason for hello. All right, well, you see the problem is that we don't actually see anything. We can first of all fix this by showing the full content using Ion text wrap. That usually helps if you got really long text inside a field, then you see everything. But of course, that's way too much. And instead of now showing the whole content, we're gonna check, is the content length above 50? Then we're gonna use the first part here up until this. If it's below 50, we're just gonna use the content, and otherwise we will slice it and put 3 dots towards the end. And now this becomes something that looks more like this. On top of that, for every email, we can check if the user has already read the email. In that case, we can also set a custom font weight. If it's not read, we're gonna set it to bold, and otherwise we don't use any class. And then we got a nice dynamic effect in here already. Long emails got those 3 dots. You could also change this to something a bit more, maybe 60, 70, 75, something like that. Anything that looks good to you. Well, that doesn't look good to me. For the last column, we now want to implement this little star rating, and also above we're gonna put a little text. So I will just put in another div. Class Ion text right, because I want to move it to the right. We're gonna make the whole part here tappable, and on click we want to set the star of an email to not to not the star. Of course, if you're using a real backend, that's most likely not what you're gonna do. There's a bit more you might have to do, but for our case, I think that will be fine. For the date, we can easily use the date pipe using a custom format here. So within the Gmail client, it's I think just the day and the month, and then we can come up with our Ion icon. We're gonna use a dynamic name as well. So if we've given that email a star, we will also use star, and otherwise we're going to use star outline. So I really like to use these dynamic properties whenever possible to set something. You don't need custom classes in here. You can do this, and we can also do the same now with the color. If we got a star, we will use warning color. Otherwise, we're gonna use the medium color. Really, you don't need anything fancy for something like clicking on this and changing it. Actually, what is this? That looked interesting. I think within here, the preview isn't super great. On a device, it actually should look. Where's my device? My device. Where's my device? My device is gone. Anyway, and then we're gonna continue with this. In the background, I will connect once again to my computer. Okay, but so far I think that looks okay. Here's the inbox. We got a bit too much of padding. We need more styling in here, definitely. The search box, of course, isn't styled correctly, so a bit more work for us. But from the overall HTML, we are almost finished. The only thing that's missing is the refresher. I'm gonna put the refresher behind the search overlay. I think I got a shortcut, Ion refresher, and we will actually really use the slot fixed. For the do refresh, we can just use really a super simple dummy functionality like this. Do refresh, and after a timeout, we will call event target complete. So we can give it a try. We don't really need this part. If you want to, you could use a custom refreshing spinner, but I'm actually not sure if this is working within the browser. I feel like the spinner isn't working here. Well, it's working. It's just up there. We might have to change that position in the end. And how does it look on our device? Also on our device, I feel like there's something wrong. If you look at it, we're not using the full width of or the full space available. So we should really put some time into our UI. We also need to style the search overlay. Maybe we're going to start with that. So for the search overlay, I think we use that class. We want to make this fixed. So right now, as you can see, it just leaves the view, and I want to have it sticky up there. Therefore, I will also give it the slot fixed like this, and I will completely destroy the UI of it. We can easily fix this now. We're gonna say margin 20 and a width of maybe 90%. Then it should be mostly in place again. Okay, that's fine, that's cool, we can live with that. Inside the search overlay, we got the Ion row, so we're gonna apply our custom styling now to that row. Because if we would, or we're going to give that row a box shadow. And if we give that box shadow to the search overlay or add some padding in here, we will have strange effects that we don't really want. So you really need to be careful which elements got the shadow. In this case, the Ion row gets the shadow. We can see other things through it. So we're gonna put in a little background white. And from what I can see, maybe we can see it better in here. We also want to have rounded borders, easily done. Border radius, let's use 8. I think that should look good. And then our search overlay is mostly in place. We can see it's sticky. The only thing we now need to do in the end is make sure that it scrolls out and scrolls back in, but so far that's looking good. Also, I think for the Ion avatar, it's a bit big. Maybe we can just put it in here. That should make it a bit smaller. Yeah, that looks better. It was a bit too big. I think it's 48 by default, something like that. 40, whatever. Yeah, but we can see if we don't get this, it's a lot bigger. and I think it looks better like this. Now, a few problems. We want to actually have this refresher below this bar. We can see this maybe even better in or on the device where the refresher is up here. That's of course not the position where we want to have the Ion refresher. Therefore, let's give the Ion refresher a lot of margin top, at least 120. Also, our list should be way more down since it's currently blocked in the beginning by this. Therefore, for the Ion list, we're gonna add a margin top as well, perhaps something like 80, and then let's check it out. Okay, list is in place, refresher exactly in the place where we want to have it. So actually that looks pretty good already. I don't know what we need to do. Maybe change a bit of the, we could do a bit with the padding in here. But overall, I really think this is quite good. But I came up for the email with a bit of different styling. So for the margin bottom, this is just too much. For the Ion label, why did I use this? I don't know, we're gonna see. For the excerpt, we get a bit of padding between the actual name of the user and the email, and for the date, we're gonna use a smaller font. Once we put this in here, it looks already better. We can now see this. This works. I think I used the wrong name for a star. That's usually, yeah, that's not star slash, but should look like this. Okay, a lot better, and I can give it a star, and I could maybe also open a page, I don't know. I think we haven't connected this correctly yet. But anyway, that view looks good to me. We got the email circle, we got our Ion row. I think we're mostly finished with this one actually. The only thing that's missing is the function to open the account, but this will just use the router for now. We will not get into the details page today. Maybe in the future if I create a second part about this. I spent really a lot of time on a few functionalities of this first part, so I'm not sure if I still want to work with this, but there are some cool things that I actually would like to explore and test, so you know me, most likely you will see a second part. If we want to navigate, we will use the path tabs mail, and then this should actually be the ID of an email. To navigate to that page, to the details page, and I hope we connected this. Yeah, this sounds nice. Yeah. Open account event. Yeah, that's fine. Do refresh is fine, but I actually wanted to open account. I somewhere made a little mistake. Because where's the function when we click on our label? We haven't added that one. So right now we can't get to the details page. We gonna use another function in here. And this is open details with the ID. And I will now add this to both the first two columns. Because of the problem I explained earlier with the Ion item and the click events that wouldn't allow clicking on the star. And open account is definitely a different logic. Okay, I thought this would be shorter, and we're already at 30 minutes. That's great. How long? We're about, oh, sweet. No. Okay, anyway, we're just gonna continue with the account page now. Maybe I'm gonna hurry a tiny bit up now, because I actually thought we could do this quicker. I'm kind of sad that I couldn't make this faster. Popover controller will be used today. We haven't seen this in action very often because, well, it's sometimes it looks kind of. I just don't like it in some places. We will pass in our account page, and if we pass in a component like this to a modal or to the popover, you most likely also want to add it to your module. In that case, we're going to add the account page module in here as well, because otherwise you really see some strange errors. Now we should be able to click here and nothing happens. That's good. Did we actually use the... yeah, we used that, but I think I haven't saved my page. Okay, account popover, please. There you are. That's a great account popover. It looks really awesome. Now, that's the reason why I wanted to add a custom CSS class, custom popover. And if you define a custom class for an alert, is this possible? I don't know, but for a modal or a popover, you're gonna have to put that into this file. And what you want to do, or what we want to do in here, first thing is actually override a CSS variable of the backdrop, and that's the Ion backdrop opacity. In the original Gmail application, it's a lot darker, and there we go. We're now already using our custom styling. On top of that, maybe we can start with the actual account page. We can go through that quite quickly, I think. The only thing that I added to this page is, once again, the popover controller and a dismiss function. And for the account page HTML, I will bring it in once. I've said this before, you can find the code linked below the video, because this page is actually not so special. The only thing that's interesting in here is that I'm using the Ion no border class for the header if you don't want to have a border. But besides that, it's just a toolbar, a little logo that I added. And for the content, well, an item, an avatar, a label, there's really not much we can talk about. Another 2 items and a footer element with those 2 entries. And as a result, we can see something that looks like this. Now, that's the default height and width of the popover, but we can change this, of course. So we want to use more of the available width. And we also want to make sure that this little arrow up here is gone, because I haven't seen this in the official design. And therefore, we're gonna say popover arrow, please be gone, display none. And for the popover content, we're gonna see what we can do. Let's get this. Where's the popover content? It's a bit tricky to find the right element, but there it is. The top value is fine. The left value isn't really fine. Let's say we want to start 10 pixels from the left. That means we need to calculate our width. And the width is now actually a pretty easy calculation. It should be 100% minus 20 pixel in my eyes. And that looks pretty good. So let's copy this. Let's put it into the popover something, popover content class. And then when we hit save, we should be lucky and see that our popover looks exactly like inside the Gmail application. We can click this. We could also click the background. That will work well as well. And let me see this. I need to see this on it. It's once again disconnected. I really hate this. I don't know why Reflector is shutting down my connection all the time. Because right now it looks like we're 10 pixels from there, but okay, popover. That doesn't look right to me. 10 with 100 minus 20. Either my brain is completely out of sync. What is wrong? Left 10 calc minus 10? No, minus 20 should have been right. I actually don't know what's wrong. It looks definitely more correct than minus 20. I don't know. Then pick the value that works best for you. This one looks nice as well. What's going on if I now use 20? What's the value we need now? No, I went to the details. It doesn't actually change anything. That's great. That's always super if you change something and nothing happens. And now, what's the width now? 30? 40? That's completely random. It doesn't calculate anything. Hello? Send help. Help. We will go back to this. You will not remember the last 30 seconds. it just works with 10 and looks good with 10. Let's keep it like this. I assume there's some kind of padding going on, or we could position this even better, but for now, this should work. Now, I think we've covered basically everything, and there's only one thing missing, and that's, once again, adding a cool directive. So, first thing, if you add a directive, we've already generated the module. You need to make sure that you call the exports and put your directive into the exports, and then open the module file on the page where you want to use the directive and add the shared directives module. You can close this, close that, actually not close that, and focus on those two files. For the directive, what we want to achieve is, if I scroll down, I want to scroll out this area up here, the search input. And once I scroll at any point in the opposite direction, I want to fade it in. And I actually can't understand it myself why it took me so long to create this directive. Really, I just can't explain it. And in the end, the code for it is actually pretty short as well. We can start, as always, for our directives by enabling the scroll events. And the selector app height header can be used. We will make sure that an input will be defined for our directive, and we're gonna pass in a template reference. So we just call this one search and pass it in here. And then within our directive, we got access to an add input. And if you use the same name like the directive, everything will just work fine. Okay. You fine with that now? If I hit save, you fine? App height header can't bind to app height header. Yeah, it is definitely possible. Trust me, Angular, it's possible. Perhaps I should just close this once. Are you happy? Now you're happy. Fine. Okay. As always, our host listener comes for the Ion scroll events. In order to catch every scroll event possible, and then we can easily react to it. But I don't know why, but I felt like it's not that easy. And maybe if you are on a decent Angular level and you will look at this code, you will think, wow, Simon, that's really horrible. But it was really the only way I could figure this out and make this work. So I'm sorry. My result is okay. If you got a better result, let me know in the comments. Now, the first thing we can do is grab the scroll drop distance, as we always do. Now, I wanted to get, are we scrolling down or are we scrolling up? And it wasn't really easy to get this from the detail. Instead, I used a variable save y and set this to 0. Now, if this dot save y is bigger than event detail current y, in that case we're scrolling down. So down. We can add an easy block, else up. Maybe we should also log this. Up. There we go. And that's the first try. Okay, let's see. We're scrolling up. And we're scrolling not up. Great. Because we're not setting save y in any place, let's do this at the end of our function. Just update it to the current y. So we can always see the difference of the current y and where we were previously. So we're gonna scroll up and we're gonna scroll down. Okay, that works for the first check in here. We also need to keep track of the point where we changed directions. And to make this a complete overkill, I created a TypeScript enum because it's too easy to just use 0 and 1. We definitely need an enum at this point. And we're gonna initially set our direction enum. Really, I sometimes really enjoy the things that come from my mind after working like 5 hours on some code. Okay, the initial direction is going down. Actually, we're scrolling up. Well, I think it mostly doesn't matter. Up, which direction is up and down? Which is up, which is down? My brain, it hurts. It really hurts. While we're here at the imports, let's quickly add the renderer, which we always needed or always need to change the UI of our elements, and also the Ionic DOM controller to make the writes to the DOM more efficient. Now, let's start by saying the default for a new direction is direction down. Doesn't matter, we can also use up at this point. It's just to make sure. In this case, direction. Actually, I think the locks are in the wrong way. That's what's confusing me all the time, isn't it? So if this save y is bigger than the current y, now we're going the page down and now we're going up. That feels a lot better, especially for my mind. In this case, since we have set a default to down, we're gonna set new direction to up. And in the end, we're gonna check if this dot direction isn't equal to the new direction, which means we have changed directions. In that case, we will set the new direction as the current direction to store it, and then save another breakpoint, or whatever you want to call it. I will just name it previous y. You could also name this like save y. Previous y will be scroll top. Okay, so then we always know at which position from top we started to scroll in a different direction. That will be really important for our animation. Now, the whole animation will happen inside the DOM controller, as we've done before, to make this more efficient. What we want to do is, we want to call the renderer set style on this dot header, and we want to change the top value to something, to a new position. And then at the same time, we also want to change the opacity to something. Okay. Now we just need to calculate those new positions. We already got scroll top. And for the new position, we can use, or maybe we should add a little lock, because I think at this point it kind of gets confusing for you. Let's put in $event.detail for every scroll event. The previous y is initially 0 until we change our direction at some point. So now we can see scroll top gets bigger and bigger. That means new position is something whatever below minus whatever. And if you inspect the Gmail application, you will see that it actually fades out pretty fast. So I'm going to add a read-only property, scroll distance, which will be like the maximum distance, or after that distance, the card should be faded out. And I will set this to 50. You can play around with this. 100 works as well, but we're going to keep it like this. If do we need to do anything in here? Yeah, we will need to add a little calculation. In fact, we don't really need the else block anymore. And we can now set our DOM controller. We just need to calculate the opacity, which is 1 minus the new position, which is like minus whatever, divided by the scroll distance. If you want to make sure that this ends up to 1, we need a little if up front as well. If the new position, which is like minus 20, minus 100, minus 300 is below our maximum distance, we will just use the maximum. So it's just a value between 0 and minus 50. And that means we will have an opacity between 1 or 0. And we can already use our new opacity and maybe already take a sneak peek. Okay, we see it's fading out. That's good. It's also coming in at some point, not really like we expected, because, well, it's just there, but we can see it fades out. Now we just need the value to also scroll it out of the view. And for this, we can use the new position that we hopefully at some point calculated. Right, this should be between 0 and -50. And then we're not really using this. Can we lock this out? So maybe now you see why it was so hard coming up with this. There are a lot of different values. It's not really setting this. Set style, this header, top. Okay, yeah, we need to make sure that this is actually, okay, this is BS pixels. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. But with pixels, it should move our element up, right? And it also moves back in, so that feels pretty good. But now you see there are a lot of edge cases, and it's really, it confused me a lot. The changes were picked up in the wrong spots. When it appears back again, it's really complicated. And the only thing to fix this was to basically get rid of a few events. If we're below 0 or equal to 0, that's a case that especially happens on iOS. Since on iOS, you can scroll below or out of the bounds, I don't know what's it called, and then the value gets below 0 and there's nothing good coming from that. Let's give it a try how it looks on iOS. So if you scroll up here, really, you want to have it sticky up there, and then it goes away, and it's horrible. Therefore, I will remove that, and also if the current y is equal to the current saved y value, it was another case that we should basically not use. So now I can do this scrolling, and it is sticky up there. I can scroll it out of the view, and it just instantly reappears in the wrong position. So I'm pretty sure at some point I forgot something. Yeah, I know where, because if it comes back in, which is okay, and which part of our code is this? The new position, right. The new position is between 0 and -50. If we scroll now in the opposite direction, it will immediately be back to 0. But we need to start the calculation at -50. So in the case where we're moving up, which is exactly this one, we also have to reduce the new position with the scroll distance, which is our -50. And then it will start in that case as well. So now we can go this. And now if I scroll back, you see it's coming back in slowly. It's not coming back in instantly at 50. And this one is interesting as well. I haven't seen that one. I've seen a lot of interesting cases during development. I haven't seen this one. This is really, I will dream about this tonight. It's a mess. I don't know why. We just want to scroll something out and we want to scroll it back in. Most likely I messed up the stuff in here. Let me quickly check this. We got our break up here. We're calculating our values. We're gonna check if we're moving in another direction. We gonna make our scroll distance the minimum possible. Exactly, that's what's missing. So now the new position is something like minus whatever, or it could get, as we can see, it can somehow get a really big value, and therefore we want to use math.minimum. So putting this card at 0 should really be the minimum. 0 or -50, anything in between, but nothing above 0. And therefore we can use minimum, either 0 or the new position. Those are really all the small details that I had to come up with to make this work. Once again, do it like this, and now we're fading in and we're sticky there because that's all the way. We have prevented the case up here for iOS. We can once again scroll it out. In between, I also tried to use an Ionic animation, which completely broke everything since I wasn't able to scroll or move anything afterwards. So I think what we got in here now is basically the final result of this. And I think for today, it has been way longer than I expected, but I still hope you enjoyed it. Alright, and that's it for today. I really thought we could make this in like half an hour. My initial intention was we're gonna split this up into 2 parts so we can have 2 smaller ones. And now we're already at an hour. I'm really sorry, but I still hope you enjoyed this video. We've seen quite a few things. There are 3 more things on my list that I might want to do in the future, and that is the custom animation to archive or delete an email. There's a custom animation for the fab button, which reacts to the scroll as well. And then we got a custom shadow for the header component on the details page. Let me know if you want to see this in another video. I kind of think I would like to do it, as it would make this application complete. But of course, let me know what you think in the comments, and as well, if you want to see other applications built with Ionic. If you enjoyed this, also check out my Ionic Academy, the place to learn everything Ionic, schools, courses, community, templates. There's really everything in it. And if you want to get better and develop faster with Ionic, go check it out. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will catch you next time. So happy coding, Simon.